Welcome everybody to another episode of HomeKit Insider. You've got me, Andrew O'Hara, here with my pal and speaker for the unicorns, Mr. Glitterbeard himself. It is Stephen Robles. We are not well into, but we are in the new year, and I'm pretty sure I still see glitter. You're sparkling over there.
It's going to last forever. I've just come to terms that I will find small pieces of glitter on myself for the next few years, maybe forever. So that's fine. Hey, it was worth it. I hope you all enjoyed that slow-mo video. Andrew, did you enjoy that slow-mo video? I hope you did.
It was very dramatic.
Very dramatic.
It was very dramatic.
I tried to be dramatic. But Happy New Year, everyone. 2022. This is ridiculous. Here's to a new year of HomeKit devices and software updates. Maybe Apple will do some dramatic things in HomeKit at WWDC this year. We could hope maybe there'll be more than 1080p resolution for HomeKit Secure Video. Who knows what kind of crazy stuff could happen this year. I'm excited. I'm excited for it.
Let's see. So, Stephen, this is airing what date? This is airing the 3rd?
Is Monday, January 3rd. That's correct.
Yes. So while people are listening or watching this, I will already be out at CES. And I believe those first few days, that's the press stuff. So I'm already going to have fun. Like, by the time you're listening to this, it's going to be out of date, and there will be exciting HomeKit news that I will be writing about. So make sure you're watching Apple Insider. Make sure you're following my Twitter. And I'll be sharing some early looks at some HomeKit hardware, hopefully. Right. So, yeah, I'm excited. Awesome. It's going to be a great week. It's going to be awesome.
That'll be awesome. And so we'll, of course, do all the CES coverage on the next episode, everything that's announced. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned, subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/HomeKit Insider. We're going to show stuff. I already have some things planned. I'm going to be showing this in future episodes and one of these and other things. I'm just going to throw random stuff in front of the camera, like this windscreen and then this lens cap and then this Apple TV remote. That's an old one too. That's
a nice one right there. Well, that's like
you like that one. I forgot.
Put the white ring around it so you can at least find the proper button.
Oh, I know. Ridiculous. Well, we had promised to answer all the listener questions that have been piling up through the last part of 2021. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to get to all of your questions, which is going to cover a wide array of things from cameras to door lock, a bunch of stuff. There's going to be a bunch of stuff. So let's get to it. These are an all listener question episode. We hope you enjoy. Keep sending them in as we will continue to answer your questions in coming episodes. So I think this is an order of submitted oldest to newest, and so stay tuned. Your questions it's
I'm
in here
anticipating.
somewhere.
I'm anticipating we're gonna know the earlier ones because we've seen questions have been piling up for a long time now as we've been so busy, and I'm yes, I remember this question. I remember I looked it up, and by the time we get to the end of these questions, it's gonna be just frantic Googling to confirm what we're saying. But
no.
Since I'm not as familiar with them all, so we'll have to see how this goes.
I did a little bit of research, so I at least have something to say. Some of them I'm going to throw just totally to you just because and see you flail. But no, I'm just kidding. There's nothing too tough. But anyway, first question. This is from Alex Hall on Twitter. He is looking for a flat LED panel to use as a ceiling light in a basement with low ceilings. Tons of them exist, some with color changing and dimming options. But are there any HomeKit compatible ones? So, looking for something like a flat flush light to the ceiling, because it's a low ceiling. You don't want something hanging down. And so I have two recommendations for Alex. Andrew's throwing stuff over there. I'm not sure what's happening. It's all right, no problem. So one we actually covered a couple weeks ago. It's this company, Turnsea. Oh my goodness, that's a cat.
Yeah, he's just interrupting me.
Wait a minute, is this bad luck if you cross a black cat in front of my video path?
I think so. I think it's bad luck.
Andrew, that's not good. Don't do that. That's
Stop
terrifying.
rubbing your face on everything around here.
Oh, my goodness.
He's going to continue to try to knock stuff over as we're recording. So.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, well, that's all right. We got it. Okay, so where'd my notes go?
Turnsea, you were talking about
Turnsea, Terncy. Of course, I'll put all the links in show notes. But Turnsea announced a HomeKit-compatible ceiling light that was flush to the ceiling, so that would be a good option for you. Also, I'm not sure if this will be available at this airing, I don't even know what words are anymore. But Aqara had announced that they were making some flush ceiling lights, LEDs. They were more circular. I don't care. I don't know if you care whether they're rectangle or circle. But Aqara announced some of those flat circle ceiling lights will change color temperature. And both of those things, Turnsea and the Aqara ones, will be HomeKit compatible. Aqara will require a hub. Turnsea, I'm not sure. I don't see any hubs required, but again, I'll put the links in show notes. So those are two options there. Did you have anything for Chris?
Yeah, honestly, it depends on... Okay, so I have nothing for Chris yet. Then I have things for Alex.
This is Alex.
It really depends on what he's going for here, because when you looked at this and thought, okay, those like basically in ceiling mounted LED lights, which you mentioned those two. I saw flat LED panels, and I thought of all the other HomeKit LED panels that are out there, like the Nanoleaf, Lifx. I think IKEA might even have some now. Oh. I mean, those ones right there behind me in the video are from Nanoleaf. Those are like those wood light ones. They can create soft to warm lights and all stuff like that. Depending on what you're doing, any of those will work. You can mount any of those on the ceiling, but you have to make sure you have a spot to plug them in. Depending on your situation, you can use like any of the can light adapters where you like screw in a little socket into those and plug them in that way. But those are completely, almost flush. They're sticking out like 1/4 inch off your ceiling. Right. And you have ones like that are just, whites and yellow versus all the other Nanoleaf ones, Lifx ones, Tile, all of those that have the full RGB spectrum, can do different lighting effects, all sorts of cool things. And you can create these like big sprawling patterns depending on how many you want to pick up. So those are kind of cool too. So it just depends on what you're going for and how much space you want to cover.
Yeah, very cool. Again, I'll put links to some of those in show notes. Thank you, Alex. Next one is from Chris. This is Chris asking a question on Twitter. Help on naming devices. He's getting 2 more Hunter ceiling fans. He has multiple table lamps, smart bulbs, and he's wanting to know how he can name things to better probably command it via Siri or in the Home app. And I would be curious, you have a lot more devices than me at the moment, but naming devices well is definitely a key part of home stuff, especially when you start using Siri to trigger things. You have to remember that when you set up a device and you put it in a room, that's going to be part of the name. And so if you have a light bulb in your bedroom, whether you say it or whatever, it's going to have the word bedroom attached, where you could say like bedroom light or bedroom ceiling fan or whatever. And so you don't have to put the name of the room in the name of the device. But then for the name of the device, you do want it to be unique. And so let's say you have 2 lamps in your bedroom, one maybe on your spouse's side of the bed, one on your side of the bed, and you want to be able to distinguish, turn off such light or turn on this other light. You do need unique names for that. You could name it either with a person's light, if it's like, the same person next to that lamp all the time, or something else. So I don't know, Andrew, have you developed any tricks like this as you're naming devices around your house?
Yeah, I have like 3 main tactics when it comes to stuff like this. So first, depending on where the lights are and how you want to control them, you can group them together. So like I had a lot of lights in my kitchen. Like I had literally 3 sets of track lights, or 2 sets of track lights, and then hanging pendant lights. And they were all hue bulbs. So I had like the island lights 1, 2, and 3 for the pendants. Then I had the ceiling lights that were like ceiling 1, 2, 3. And then I had track lights 1, 2, 3, or cabinet lights 1, 2, 3. And we group those in together to have like kitchen ceiling, kitchen counter, kitchen cabinets. And each of those 3 bulbs just had a number after, but they were grouped as one, so I could control all 3 of them at the same time. So looking at multiple table lamps in the living room, maybe you want to group those together and just say turn the table lamps on or off, and just control all of your table lamps in the living room at once. Your other option is, I'll try to do this with my wife, which is like asking her like which one that is. Like, okay, turn on that lamp. Which one is it? Oh, it's the one on the bunny hutch. It's the one next to the recliner. It's the one next to the window. Like something like that. Like whatever you would like naturally call it is what I would then kind of transform into a HomeKit name. So it becomes like the recliner lamp, or the living room window lamp, or the living room bunny hutch lamp. Like whatever it's kind of associated with in that way. And then of course your fallback is just going to numbers. So table lamp 1, table lamp 2. That gets harder to remember unless you're using it frequently, but I try to go just by what makes most sense. Like when I'm looking at it, like I was trying to tell someone to turn it on without pointing. Like I can't point. Which one is it? And that's kind of what I transform into my HomeKit name.
Very good. Okay. That was good stuff. Okay, this next question, this is from Joshua Meyer. He says he has about 30 HomeKit devices in his home, loves them. However, recently have been unable to program new automations. The Home app always crashes after I hit next. I've been forwarded to Apple's engineering team, but to the avail, nothing has helped. Ever heard of anything like this? Thoughts? These kinds of situations are always tough to diagnose, especially remotely. But number one, make sure all your devices are on the latest. Now, as we record, 15.2 on your iPhone and HomePods, and your Apple TV has tvOS 15.2. So I would always recommend try to make sure you're on the latest everywhere. And then what you might want to do is see what device is being used as your main home hub. We've talked about this on past episodes. In the Home app, you can tap the little home icon in the top left. You go down to Home Settings, and under Hubs, there's like sensors and hubs. You can actually see all your home hubs at the top. And if you have 30 devices, I assume you probably have multiple Apple home hubs as well between HomePods and Apple TVs. See which one is currently being used as the primary. It'll actually, let me actually pull it up and we can actually see it. But if you go to the Home app, hit the Home Settings, Home Hubs and Bridges, you'll see one of the hubs will say connected and the rest will say standby. And so those are my home hubs currently in the Home app. If you're watching on YouTube, youtube.com/HomeKit Insider, you can see what I'm showing you here. But it has all my HomePods plus an Apple TV, and it shows that that's connected. Now, what you might want to do is unplug or like totally turn off, which with an Apple TV or HomePod, you just need to unplug it from the wall, basically. I would maybe unplug that one that's connected and see if the Home will shift its main home hub to a different HomePod or Apple TV you might have in your house. Once it switches in that app, you'll see a different one says connected. Maybe try creating an automation then. Maybe it's an issue with that specific home hub. You can also go as far as to maybe start factory resetting individual home hubs. Don't do it all at once. Do maybe one at a time. And you can factory reset an Apple TV. And a lot of times, at least in my experience, it's all backed up. So when you restore it and set it up again, all your stuff will be there. You don't have to worry about data loss or downloading all your apps again individually. It should remember all that. But maybe try factory resetting Home Hub down the line until you factory reset all of them. See if that helps. And then after that, I'm not sure. Did you have any other thoughts, Andrew?
Yeah, so what's curious is that it's just like crashing in the app. So I'm not sure which part it is having issues with. Because if I'm trying to remember back to some like the technical stuff of how HomeKit works, it's basically like creating that automation, like and saving it to like your iCloud, and then it'll like go across, right? And so initially I wouldn't think that it would be reliant on your home hub being like responsive or anything like that. Right. But maybe it is. My first step would be trying a different app. Like instead of the Home app, try using the Eve app, or that's a free one, Home Plus 5. Like that's one we recommend quite frequently. So try creating an automation and a scene and everything in one of those and seeing if that works. And then if that works, go back to the Home app and go from there. Like maybe it'll just kind of kick something through after it creates in a third-party app and see it from there. I'd go to what you said and start resetting home hubs. Josh doesn't say what home hubs he has. I don't know if this is a HomePod, Apple TV, HomePod Mini. Try, maybe you have multiple home hubs. Maybe it's one acting up. Find your primary one and just unplug it first. Let something else switch over, and then try to create an automation before even plugging it back in, and see if you get anywhere from there. But that would be my initial starting points on trying to troubleshoot.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that'll help. Let us know if you can solve that. This next question is from Richard. He said, thanks for reviewing these products, but would actually like to see the beginning process of adding a device to your HomeKit home, like connecting it to your home, pairing it, even like scanning the code. Most things about HomeKit are reviews and how things work, but not actually how to set it up. And I thought this was an interesting question. Again, for the audio version of the podcast and doing it, as we record, setting up a home device might be a little difficult unless you really see what's going on. I will say, as my new home is being built, I'll be adding a ton of HomeKit devices to that. And so once I start adding those devices, I will try to record some of those, and then we can actually post maybe on the YouTube channel like, hey, here's setting up a Wemo light switch from out of the box to using it in the app, and you can see the entire process. Thankfully, for most devices that are HomeKit compatible, the process is really, pull it out of the box. If there's an on button or if you plug it in because it's a smart plug, you do that, and you scan that little QR code that's on the device. Sometimes it's in the manual of the box, and you open the Home app, hit the plus button to add a new accessory, scan that code, and usually that's it. It'll walk you through the few steps of adding it to a specific room and then naming it like we just talked about, and you're ready to go. But maybe we could show some of those on camera in the new year, especially as I set up a bunch of those devices. So I thought it was a good recommendation.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like a lot of stuff to go over. I mean, maybe that's a whole episode on itself, which may be a little basic for a lot of HomeKit users, but it's still something that's essential. And what used to be very easy has now got like just a slightly more complicated, but easier at the same time. Like it's more complicated to explain, but easier for users. Right. Originally, the way the setup process would work was you scanned the HomeKit pairing code, or you entered the number. That was it. Right? And then if it was Bluetooth, it'd be automatically onboarded. If it was Wi-Fi, you'd have to go through a separate process for adding the Wi-Fi credentials and onboarding it onto your network. Now, Apple has added new ways of pairing and getting set up. So you can scan your HomeKit pairing code, same as before. The Wi-Fi onboarding process is seamless and happens in the background. It automatically authenticates and adds devices to your network, so that is easier. You don't have to worry about it. Just spins for a moment and handles the Wi-Fi onboarding. But you also have other options for pairing. There's NFC now. So some devices, maybe Nanoleaf, I want to say. I know the new Sonos speakers. You can add them to HomeKit just by tapping. You don't even have to scan or use your camera. You can just tap and pair that way. So it just depends on the devices that you have. But really, that's it. You create your home, create some rooms, scan those codes, whether with the camera or through NFC, and they're added into the Home app. Give things names and start going off that way.
Or if you're using a morose garage door opener, it's repeat the process 50 times, and then eventually it'll connect. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, just a little jab there.
That's also a thing.
And we actually have a later question about garage door openers, so we'll get back to that. So the next question is from David Garcia. He says, do you guys know about a smart switch for a ceiling-mounted fan? My apartment came with one that is controlled by a switch on the wall, and I was wondering if there was a way to control it using HomeKit. Yes, there are a few options. I'll put a link to the Lutron Cassetta Wireless Smart Fan Control. This is actually a Lutron switch, works with HomeKit. You do need the Lutron hub, but as we mentioned before, I've had a ton of Lutron switches in the past. Lutron is super reliable, super rock solid. So you do get that hub and that switch. I guarantee you won't have any issues. It's really great. But this Lutron is the PDFSQNWH. Link is in show notes. But this has the fan speed control, and it gives you control on the wall, so you can actually just press the buttons on the switch to adjust the fan speed, but you can also control it in HomeKit. Otherwise, what I did in my older home, which didn't have neutral wires and I couldn't use some of these fancy switches, I used a Lutron switch that was just an on-off, no dimmer, and that at least allowed me to turn the fan on or off. I couldn't change speed with that, but I at least had control of the on-off. And if you do that, you have several options. Like you can use any on-off light switch that doesn't have a dimmer, and you could do that. But as far as fan control, the Lutron Cassetta Smart Fan Controller is a good option for you. And then, do you have it? What are you doing over there?
Dealing with some troubleshooting at the same time today, man.
Gotcha.
Having some SSD issues, and I'm trying to get a drive to read. But as far as like fan controllers go, on topic for HKI today, what I really wanted to see was that iDevices one. And we had talked about iDevices kind of going MIA for a little bit. And this is something that they were supposed to be coming out with, was a HomeKit fan controller, and never materialized. I think there are a couple others that have shown up, but really it's hard to come by one. The Lutron's the biggest one that I know of. And what really is unfortunate is how it's set up is that you can only control the fan. So if you have like a bulb in there too, you need like a second smart switch, and it gets really expensive. And if you have one of those like fan controllers where everything's like built into a single skinny panel, then you can't even fit 2 smart plugs into that space, and that gets complicated. Or you have to run like a separate wire if you want the lights, or if you're going to put smart bulbs. There are all sorts of headaches to go along with it. So one thing you can do is still just put a regular smart switch on of just on or off. That will still work for your ceiling fan, and then you can control it, via the pools. So you have some options if you want to go that way. Like if you always use medium, most people just use medium, right? Like that's a thing. So you can just do it that way. And you got on and off, and you can manually change it from there if you need to. But yeah, it's kind of like a little bald spot in HomeKit. There needs to be more of those coming up.
Bald spot, that's funny. All right, so the next question was actually in a review, and we've had several 5-star reviews in the last few weeks, so thank you all for doing that. This was from Garcia, FA19, I think. In his review, asked us a question, which is a great way. If you don't know what to write in that little review box, just give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and send us a question. We see every review that comes through, and so if you include a question, we will get to it. And
that's right. And if you say something negative, I will see it.
Right. And Garcia, oh, you know what? I bet you this is actually David Garcia, because it's the same question. Ceiling mounted ceiling fan. He sent us the question both ways. We saw it in both places because we read every review. So there you go. Asked and answered. Done.
Look at that. We're going through these so quick.
This next one is from an also a review on the podcast. And I don't see it's not really a name, just kind of random letters, but actually mentioned he wanted us to talk about the environmental mindset of using smart home devices and automations and the positive environmental impact you could have. The first thing I'll say, this is not really HomeKit specifically, but they've been a sponsor of the show, and Andrew and I both have them, are the Nebula shower heads. And those are the shower heads that use 45% less water. They haven't sponsored this episode or anything, but I still use my Nebula shower head. My family uses it, and they really like it. And so that's one way. If you want to save water, help the environment, you could do that. But when it comes to automations in HomeKit and saving energy, that's one of the great things you can do, especially when you have motion detectors. You can automate lights to turn off when there's no motion in the home. And probably the biggest energy saver is adjusting your temperature in the house when people aren't there, which is why something like the Ecobee thermostat is great, because you can even tell it to, even if you forget to raise the temperature when you leave, or maybe you don't have a schedule set, you can actually say, help save energy by, if you don't see motion in the home, raise the temperature a little bit. And so the air conditioner doesn't have to run as much, or the heat doesn't have to run as much if you're up north. So that's probably one of the biggest energy saving features you can use. And you can get devices like the Eve Energy, which is also a smart plug, and you can actually monitor energy usage on some of your appliances or other things. Maybe you have a chest freezer or other appliance that uses a lot of electricity. You can monitor that and see, how much energy does this actually take? And not only is it environmentally friendly, but a lot of times you can save on your electric bill depending on how expensive that might be where you are. Again, AC and heating units probably the most using the most energy in that regard. So yeah, there's lots of ways you can be environmentally friendly for sure with home stuff. Do you have anything you want to add to that, Andrew?
Nope, I'm going to defer for now because I think this is a lot more to unpack. I think we should more focus this on like a bigger whole episode topic to go through this and some more the eco stuff as well as like money saving stuff.
For sure. HomeKit. All right, well, on Twitter, Jim Heatherly asked a question about CarPlay and garage door openers. Like if you have multiple garage door openers, how does it know, like what shows up first? Does it show multiple at once in CarPlay? And I will say I don't have any CarPlay anything. I drive a 2011 Kia Soul, which CarPlay did not exist when that car came out. And I haven't done any third-party CarPlay stuff. So I'm not sure. Maybe one day I'll get like some kind of third-party screen to see. But Andrew, have you had any experience with CarPlay and garage door openers?
Yes, I do, and mine have set up correctly from the MyQ garage door opener, unlike your Maris one. I don't know like a firm answer. I don't know like a 100% this is how answer, but my I have an inkling, which is just that Apple is applying some machine learning here. So maybe at one point you manually controlled a certain door or something and it figured that out. And then it started populating it on your screen with the one that it assumed you were going to need. That would be my thought. Like maybe it's just, I don't know how your stuff is set up. If it's multiple garages, if it's like, separate buildings, or if it's like a 3-car garage or something, or 2-car garage, and you always happen to use like the door on the left or something, it could have just figured that out and starts populating it that way. Apple does a lot of like, machine learning and predictive analysis that you see like through Siri suggestions and all that. And it's all done just on your device based on your usage habits. So my guess is that at some point you used it, you manually did it, and then that's how it started recommending in certain situations, whether based on location or like maybe they're different properties. Maybe you have like a weekend house and a week house or something. And it just where you're pulling in, it knows that way. So there's multiple ways that it kind of figures these things out. But if you have like one garage, you use them willy-nilly, just pulling into whichever one is open, and there's no rhyme or reason to it, then I have no idea how Apple is figuring that
exactly. All right, next question. We'll try and pick up the pace here. Angel Vargas was asking about Eufy products, and it seemed like they stopped supporting HomeKit. What's the deal? They had a lot of HomeKit stuff initially. This is weird. The benefit of HomeKit is if you do have Eufy products that used HomeKit, you can still use them. They still work with HomeKit. You don't have to worry about losing HomeKit compatibility with those older products. But it is strange. I looked on Eufy's website. A lot of their newer stuff is compatible with Alexa, but not HomeKit. And so I'm not really sure what they're doing. They're owned by Anker. If you didn't know that, Anker makes all the smart plugs and cables and chargers and stuff like that. Sorry, not smart plugs, but they make like wall plugs that are like GAN and all that kind of stuff. So not sure why. I couldn't find any news about it or if they announced anything about it. So it just seems like they're quietly not making as many HomeKit products as before, which is unfortunate. But again, if you have old ones, they'll still work.
I think both of you are reading into this too much. I really do. I think there's a limit to what HomeKit can do, and I don't know how many holes Eufy has in their portfolio for HomeKit stuff. Like, what are they going to do on a newer HomeKit camera?
They can't add 2K or 4K.
I mean,
because that's not HomeKit compatible.
Exactly. You can't add resolutions. You can't add pan-tilt zoom. You can't add all of these features. They don't do anything for HomeKit. So I guess HomeKit technically could be added at like a lower resolution or anything like that for like camera specifically, but I just think they're opting for the why for something that's going to be a decreased resolution or something when they already have a HomeKit. Why pay to go through the licensing and certification through Apple when you have a HomeKit compatible model already on your product list? Yeah. So they still have a lot of HomeKit products. They're still available. They are just now they have HomeKit done. They're just catering to some Amazon stuff that has different features that HomeKit doesn't support.
Sure. And, they do a lot of wireless stuff, which HomeKit and wireless stuff doesn't really play well together because HomeKit requires that constant connection. And that's why you usually need a hub in addition to a camera if you have something like the Arlo. So probably that reason too.
Yeah, if it's a dedicated battery-powered wireless camera, then it's just not going to work with HomeKit without that hub. So that's not even something, again, just something that HomeKit can't support. Maybe when we get to Matter 2.0 and we've got, camera support there, that could be a possibility. We could finally see those coming to HomeKit in however many years it takes for Matter 2.0 to launch. But right now, it's not. They're just things that HomeKit doesn't support. So they're just catering to other markets, trying to cover their bases. I feel like Eufy is one of those brands. Like they don't want to cater just to Apple users. They want to cater to anyone. So.
All right. So this next one is from YSR50 on Twitter. He recommended we were doing our light switch roundup a couple weeks ago and mentioned the Lifx smart white light switch. Lifx being Lifx. I had not seen this light switch before, so I don't have any experience with it, but it does look cool. I had not heard of it before he tweeted it at us, and so maybe we'll be able to try that. I'll get some more details on it, and I'll put a link in show notes to it, of course, but looks cool. That's my thought.
Yeah, I've played with this one out at CES, I believe. I think it was CES. Who knows? Things get blurry. But I knew this one, and then I never heard that it launched. I didn't know it was available, and then I'm like, holy crap! I remember this from I feel like it was years ago now that I first saw this or played with it or whatever. But I'm excited. I like the Lifx stuff a lot, and they usually offer some nice features that others don't have. And honestly, there's nothing that looks quite like this Switch on the market. So it is it a hardwired in-wall switch? I think it's, because it looks, I mean, it's definitely an in-wall switch.
It looks like an in-wall switch.
First off,
it does not appear that that it has HomeKit support yet. I'm looking at it on Amazon right now and did a page search for HomeKit, and it is not there. So that might be why.
I thought it had it on their website. See, this is the part where we Google, folks.
I'm on the Lifx website. I went to switches, smart white switch. This is how fast I'm going. I'm doing a Command F. I'm going to search now for HomeKit on this page. And yeah.
It's right there.
Right there. Yeah. It's okay. Yeah, it does have HomeKit then. Works with Apple HomeKit.
I mean, assuming that's just not a blanket fill in their thing, but it can support, it looks like 2, 3, or 4 buttons on there. Well, sorry, 2 or 4. So you can have 2 or 4 all stacked up little pills, and it comes in both white and black options. It does look like it supports Apple HomeKit on here. It looks pretty neat. Like, I like this one, and it shows up as a regular switch, it looks like. So you have like just your on and off states, not a button, which is different in the world of HomeKit if it is a button versus a switch. So yeah, I think this thing looks good. It just depends on your aesthetic, really. And there are some people who need specifically this. Like, you've got like a 4 gang box or whatever with like 4 switches in it. But if you have like one of those compact ones that are smaller and you want to make them smarter, like a single gang box there, you need to be able to put like 4 buttons onto one. This would be your option because nothing else would do it.
All right, let's keep going. So we got another number of 5-star reviews back in earlier December, and it was, just want to say that FBI agents, well, I don't even know what these usernames are. My goodness, is FBI agents listening? Okay.
I don't know. It's the title of the review is blue. It is by Bly.
Yes.
And the author is FBI agentin via Apple Podcasts in Sweden.
Yeah. Okay, anyway, so that's great. Thanks for the 5-star review. Another one talked about neutral wires, and this person's house does not have ground wire, so appreciated us talking about that. Very cool. And this other 5-star review from Big Boo UK, shout out to you, said enjoyed your wife guest starring when Faith was on as I was milking cows across Europe. So very cool. Thank you for that. All right. Josh on Twitter was asking any tricks to making the Chamberlain MyQ, which is a garage door opener, work better. And this is interesting. I've actually heard from several listeners in the last few weeks, tweets and emails saying that they have the Chamberlain MyQ and it is not super consistent for them. Again, I don't have personal experience with it, but I was considering it for my new house, and I'm thinking maybe I won't do that. Maybe I'll stick with the Maris garage door opener. As much as I kind of been making fun of Maris in other things, again, Maris, Meross, and we've had people complain about their light switches. Although, I'll throw in here as well, Rodney on Twitter messaged me that he's been using Maris light dimmers switches, and he's had a great experience with Maris. So, I don't know. Maybe it's just something about the Florida humidity that Maris doesn't like. But the Maris garage door opener has been working well for me. I've had pretty consistent performance. I've not had any kind of like days of downtime. It's been pretty good. So I don't have any tricks for the Chamberlain MyQ, but if you're looking for a garage door opener out there, maybe consider the Maris one because I've been having a good experience with it. But do you have any tricks for it, Andrew? Throw it away, hit it with a bat? What do you think?
I didn't have any issues at all. My only problem that I had was that I had a disconnected garage. It was far from my house, and my regular Wi-Fi signal was not reaching. So what I ended up doing was putting a repeater in our upstairs window, basically, our upstairs room. And that was able to, because you want your Wi-Fi high, people, it falls down. So I put it up there, and it was actually then able to get to the garage without issue. And once I had a reliable internet connection, no problems at all. It was rock solid every single time. I would literally just ask seriously, watch the garage, and the garage would open up by the time I got there.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
All right, last-ish question here. James Prochnow, I believe, on Twitter messaged both of us that he was asking, what is the general etiquette about moving with smart devices? I'm not sure if he's asking whether you're moving out of a house that you have smart devices installed or moving into it. Yeah.
That's what it sounds like. I think leaving, like when you move somewhere, what's the etiquette? Do you leave devices behind for people, or do
So this is
you
interesting
take them?
because I just did this when I sold my last home, and I left all my Lutron switches in the wall because I was going to try and go completely hubless in the new house, which I might end up getting the Lutron hub again because it's so reliable, but I'm not sure. But anyway, I left all my Lutron switches in the wall. One, because even if they never ever use the smart home features, they can just use the switches. I mean, they can just hit on or off, dim it up and down, and they never have to mess with the hub or anything. So they can just do that. I did release do like a reset on my Lutron app. So kind of like deleted the home, and I deleted my home from in the Apple Home app as well. So I don't have access to those devices anymore either. But I did leave my switches in there, and I did leave them the hub, of course. Like I wasn't going to take the hub. And so if they wanted to use it with the hub, they totally can. But if they don't, they can still just use the switches like normal. You know, other things like, I also left my thermostat, my Ecobee thermostat, which I disconnected from my account, but I left it for them because I just didn't want to deal with uninstalling it and was going to get a newer Ecobee when I moved into the new house anyway. So that's what I did. I'm not sure what the accepted etiquette is, but I did that. And I will also say, if you move into a house that has smart devices in it, I would 100% factory reset them all. I don't think you need to uninstall them and take them like physically out of the house. Every device, you can just Google the device and the model and look for the factory reset option. I know for Lutron switches, there's like a hold the down button for a certain amount of seconds and it'll flash and it'll let you know it's factory reset. For thermostats, you can factory reset those. So I would keep whatever's in the house. If you move into one, just factory reset everything so you know no one else has access to it. What are your thoughts, Andrew?
I differ a little bit. I would say I pull everything. Well, when I leave, I take the wires, take all copper wiring. It's valuable. Go for the pipes, that PEX stuff. It is worth gold. But no, really, I take almost everything for like a couple reasons. One, like you're giving someone almost like a task when they move to the house. Like they now need, like they're moving in, now they need to worry about, connecting smart devices, stuff like that. Second, you have the issue that Steven just brought up, which is making sure they're not paired to someone else. Someone may move into the house and now it's like, oh, can someone else control these devices that were put in? Like you can, obviously you want to reset them, but with HomeKit stuff, it gets a little more complicated because even though a device is reset, if it was previously paired, you're going to have issues repairing it to a new thing unless they remove it from their account. You can factory reset a device, but once it was paired with your account, like it is paired and it cannot be repaired with something else until it's like removed from your account. Like I had this with one device that I was setting up and I had like factory reset it. Like I was having issues pairing it with my stuff, like just the setup in general. And it had actually paired and like gone to the default room on my house. And I had no idea that it was in the home app. And I had reset it. It was still in the home app. And like I couldn't control it or anything, but it was like still in the home app. And then I go to repair it and I couldn't because it was already paired with a home. So you have to like remove it and stuff like that. So it just gets funky with those things and you don't want to have any hiccups with that. The only time that there's like two reasons I would leave stuff. One, if you're trying to use it as a reason for someone to buy your home, like if the housing market was reversed and there was, less buyers and more houses, and you're like trying to get as much money as you can, like you can advertise your house as a smart home. Like you have full automated switches and stuff like that. You can use it as a selling point for your house. It doesn't cost that much. You already have the stuff installed from when you lived there. It's a selling point. Like you can try to get a little bit, you're not going to get a lot more for your house, but you're going to get closer to maybe what you're asking. If there's, a seller's market or seller's market in that case. So that would be one reason. The other reason would be also what you said, Steven, you're upgrading something. If you're planning on buying a new Ecobee thermostat, what do you need the old one for? Freaking leave it, reset it, remove from your home, let them do that, and you can just mention as you're selling. But unless you're like planning to upgrade something, there's nothing wrong with taking it. You take your stuff back out, just like you take your other stuff out, and put it. You have to leave something. Don't leave a hole in the wall.
No.
Don't leave just like an open hole and a couple wire nuts. But
yeah,
put a regular switch back in there. But there's no like the person who's moving in there does not know like what you had before or anything like that. So there's not a problem with removing your stuff, including your switches, as long as you're replacing them with
Very cool.
actual switches.
All right, this final question, Andrew. If our YouTube channel gets to 2,000 followers, I put glitter in my beard at 1,000. What are you going to do when we get to 2,000? That's what I want to know.
I will watch you put more glitter.
No. This is going to happen in the next 30 days probably. So we got to figure something out. Maybe wear something funny, or I don't know. Listen,
wear something
tweet
funny.
Suggestions.
Someone said shave my head, which my hair. So folks, my hair is ridiculous lately. It's been crazy. So I've been like wearing more hats because it's just uncontrollable. And it's like, it gets very curly as it gets longer. And I tried to go get a haircut around these places, and there's like so few that like the wait was like 3 hours. And even like Sports Clips or something, like I tried to like make a reservation like ahead of time, and I'm sitting at my phone waiting for it to open. Like you can only put your like reservation call ahead. I don't know what the heck they call it for haircut places. And like I do it like the second that they could, and I refresh the page as soon as it lets me do it, and there's already like a 45-minute wait. I'm like, what? How'd that happen? And then like I'm like, okay, well, it's only gonna take me 20 minutes to get there, but I'll wait a few, then I'll go, and I go, and they had taken walk-ins in between other people who hadn't shown up yet. So like, say Steven's on the list and he was supposed to be there in 20 minutes. Someone was there and they got done with the other haircut early, so they stick someone in front of him. Now his time got pushed back. Now my time so it took like an hour and a half last time I went in there. And there's not very many places around that I can go get a haircut. So, and now it's like before the holidays when I'm like trying to do this. So this is like living. This is like how it is at the moment because I can't get a haircut anywhere. It's like COVID times again, when haircut places were closed.
Okay.
So
so you're not going to shave your head?
I mean, if I shaved my head, I would be wearing hats again. So y'all wouldn't even know.
Yeah.
There'd be no difference. Also, I do not want to do that. I have to be on video for a living every single day.
All right. Well, listeners, tweeted Andrew myself, what ideas do you have for Andrew to do once we reach 2,000 subscribers? Nothing crazy, not like skydiving or anything, but unless you want to, Andrew. I mean, if you want to go skydiving, that's cool.
It is on my wife's
really?
list. She really wants to skydive.
That would be super epic.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of my wife, because we had that like minor question back there, or that comment that they love that how Siri would work for them but not for their wife, just like it does for Faith. Remember how I told you I unplugged that kitchen HomePod because it was acting up? It still is acting up. Yeah, Faith didn't know that, so she's in there. She's like, Siri, turn on the Christmas tree, and just radio silence because there's no. And she's like, oh, do it. I'm like, I'm sorry. There's no HomePod at the moment. But I did get one right before Christmas. Best Buy had the new HomePod Minis, $20 off. So I got a new blue one for $80 to replace the broken big OG HomePod. So that was really funny. Like I just unplugged it. Like there was no chance of it working at all. Because I unplugged it and I'm like, it's unplugged at the moment. Sorry. Yep. Just make it. I felt so bad.
Well, listeners, tweet at us. No.
Not helping
Tweet Andrew
Siri's
myself
reputation.
ideas for when we hit 2K subscribers on YouTube. Send us your home questions. We will get back to answering those weekly. We won't let them pile up again, but send them to us. We'd love to hear about what you got going on project-wise. If you haven't yet, leave a 5-star rating and review in Apple Podcasts. That'd be great. And of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/HomeKit Insider. Thanks for an awesome 2021 and looking forward to all the HomeKit stuff this year in 2022. We'll catch you next time.